Hello everyone, today I wanted to make a follow-up video to my original Kynseed video that I made a few days ago. I wanted to play through the prototype of the game a second time and find things that I missed as well as express my thoughts in a more concise manner. Although I enjoyed playing the game and commentating it at the same time, I think it'd be more helpful for you, the viewer, and to the developer if I just talked with my thoughts gathered over some gameplay footage. So a quick disclaimer, I'm not associated with the developers of this game. I have been in contact with them. They've been posting comments on my YouTube video, and I've been talking to one of them over Twitter, and they're all really nice people. But there's no money being exchanged underneath the table as I speak about this game. I'm just a guy who loves playing video games, and I'm just giving my 2-cent opinion on this team's game project. So let's begin the video. So Kynseed is an RPG being developed by some of the former developers of the Fable series of games, formerly known as Lionhead Studios. So Lionhead Studios closed down in April of 2016 last year, so it was a big surprise actually to find this game on itch. As of the time of release of this video, the prototype version of Kynseed can be played for free, and you can check out the link in the description if you want to play it yourself. I would recommend you do so, as it only takes about an hour of your time, and it's well worth it if the game looks even remotely interesting to you. I've already played through this build once, so don't mind me if I just run through and start doing stuff immediately. One thing I want to mention during the intro is the aesthetic and sound design. I already got the impression that this game was being designed by people with a lot of experience already. I was genuinely surprised at the art style of the nature-y elements of the game. The trees, fauna, foliage, they kind of made me take a step back, and I thought it was all hand-drawn for a second. But the developers have told me that it's pixel art, and I'm pretty taken aback because it looks fantastic. It feels very picturesque, and it really immersed me into the game seconds after it started. I also think that the sound design, notably the different amount of sounds going on in the background, give off a really naturey vibe to the game. So as you can see, the game starts you off with the Fishy Mechanics. Although this is a prototype, I kind of think this was a strange choice to present to the player, especially because the other tools in the demo are scattered across, and they never really tell you much about them. As for the Fishy Mechanics themselves, they are definitely a work in progress. I think they still need to program an AI for the fish to come towards the fishing bob to make this whole process a lot easier. It's a bit janky and it works about half the time, but I still managed to catch a fish here. So I'm gathering all these apples here to feed to the animals. It turns out that some of these apples will randomly have a trait on them called gassy on them. You find this out through picking up some of the proverbs found in the area. I think it's a neat idea to give all these items traits that can do a variety of things that can benefit or hinder the player. I only hope they utilize that trait system to the fullest to make the game much more enjoyable. You'll see what I mean by the utilization of these traits in a very horrifying way later in the video. One feature I really enjoy about this game is that if you press the left trigger button, you can see the status of your relationship with the animals and your father. You can also use this to see how far a plant or herb has grown. I think it's neat that the designers take out all the menus you would have to go through. What you need to know is expressed with just a simple button press and a few memorable icons. I don't have an idea of what that relationship system will be in the end, but if you're able to convey the status of that relationship in just a button press, I would hope they keep this feature in and develop around it. So unlike in my first video that I made, I learned how to actually play this minigame properly instead of just freaking out at the fact that I got teleported into the Shadow Realm. It's a pretty simple minigame for what it is, and apparently you can get some cool prizes if you score enough points. I'm not that great at it though, so I won't bore you too much with this. I'm sure there are more minigame activities being developed, and they just wanted to show off this simple one. As you see here, I'm spending some time planting some seeds I bought from the merchant and planting them so that they'll grow and I can harvest them in the future. I'm hoping that these farming mechanics will be a lot more refined as the game is developed. I think it's rather tedious to go into a menu to plant a seed every time. Also, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of space to plant crops either, so hopefully there will be a dedicated area for the large amount of farming. I also never figured out if I was watering plants correctly, as this strange 2-bar system for watering plants really confused me. First this light blue bar fills up, and then a dark blue bar fills up. I'm wondering if it's a mechanic where you can overwater your crops and damage them, but I can't really say for sure. I think that it would be a pretty interesting system to implement, but I personally think that you should play it safe and do a normal watering mechanic. The cooking system seems basic enough, but it can be streamlined a lot better. If you have all the ingredients, then there should be a button to press to throw all the ingredients in at once. If the order of ingredients matters, though, that would be a different case. Again, it's still a work in progress, so I can't really fault them too much. I did learn how to, I did successfully cook something, though, so I kind of just gave it to my father, though. Also, it was a funny Mad Max reference, so good job on that. So early in the video, I was talking about how to utilize the trait system more, and this moment coming up blew my mind and made me laugh in just complete horror. You can feed these pigs gassy apples, and when you do, they inflate up and float there above ground. And at first you might think, oh, that's just a cute little Easter egg. But it turns out if you have the bright idea like I did to take a slingshot and shoot the pig, he'll explode and drop a lot of meat. As horrifying of an experience as that was, I strongly feel that moments like this is what can make a game very compelling. You reward players for trying things out that may not seem apparent at first, but with just enough small hints, you give them something to go off of, and make them discover something about your game that's just a really memorable moment of gameplay. I truly hope there's a lot more of this to discover in the future game. I want to continue on that train of thought with the father and how he can get sick. I feel that the father getting sick is a potentially interesting moment of gameplay. I don't know how far the developers will push this concept of characters becoming ill, but I got to thinking it would make for a really intense moment of gameplay if a character could be permanently killed if you didn't take action to stop and take care of them. I never found the plant that could cure him, but he was fine a few days later, so I didn't really feel as if it was a big deal. But I personally feel like they could implement this kind of gameplay if they really wanted to, as long as it fits with the overall vision for the game. Anyway, those were just some interesting insights I had on my second time through the demo. I want to thank the developers and everyone who watched that first video, and hopefully for watching this one. I think their previous experience with gameplay development definitely shows in this game, and hopefully it will be just as, if not more memorable than games of similar genre. I also recommend to you, the viewer, to play this game yourself if you haven't tried it. I didn't mention a lot of things in the video, so there's a lot to find in the prototype outside of what I mentioned. So I want to end this video by saying thanks for watching. It's the first time I've done a scripted video, and I definitely have a lot to learn about making these types of videos. If you want to see videos similar to this one in the future, be sure to subscribe. And thanks for watching. So I'm gathering all these apples and animals to feed the animals. Blah, blah, blah. I think the developers' previous experiments... The developers are experimenting with hardcore cocaine, probably. And I definitely have a lot to learn about making these type of videos. If you want to see videos similar to this one in the future, then be sure to subscribe. And thanks for watching.